Hi, my name is Jobe. I'm the Poet Laureate for the city of Davis, California, and I'm doing these weekly recorded readings in lieu of live readings, which we cannot have right now during the pandemic. This week I'll be reading from Galway Kinnell's collection, When One Has Lived a Long Time Alone. Galway Kinnell, gone a few years now, was the Poet Laureate of the state of Vermont. He was a MacArthur Fellow, a Pulitzer winner, and he won a National Book Award. And I got to meet him one time in the mid-1990s when I was about 40. It was just a how do you do, shake your hand kind of thing at a poetry festival. But he was very polite, very sweet, had a nice smile. I liked him. So Galway Kinnell. I will start with the poem Judas Kiss. Those who lie waiting know time goes away eventually, but in the meantime sits there. Oh, maybe shuffles in its mechanisms once in a while, skips a day. Sometimes behind you a whole year can get lost, but basically sits there. Hair doesn't turn white, skin refuses to mat its spidery crushings over the face bones. The tiny ditched carcasses of remembered acts remain stuck, nose and feet, to the amberish helix of the heaven of childhood, which droops down into the golden ringlet of hell. Most can wait for the capsule's slow burst to lull them off, but some, dying to get on with it, swill the whole bottle down in one foul gulp. Then somebody, an ex-spouse, the woman downstairs, or maybe the UPS man, will happen by, discover the collapsed creature, and never mind if it sleeps through its last clutches. Bend down, and with the softest part of the face, which hides the hardest, Judas Kiss it. With a click, like a conductor's ticket punch. This one here, God of our fathers, this one is the one. And this is The Man on the Hotel Room Bed. Galway Kinnell. He sits on the bed carefully so as not to press through the first layer into the second, which is permanently sore. For him, sleep means lying as still as possible for as long as possible, thinking the worst. Nor does it help to outlast the night. In seconds after the light comes, the inner darkness falls over everything. He wonders if the left hand of the woman in the print hanging in the dark above the bed, who sits half turned away, her right hand clutching her face, lies empty. Or does it move in the hair of a man who dies, who perhaps died long ago, and sometimes comes and puts his head in her lap, and then goes back and lies under a sign in a field, filled nearly up to the roots, holding down the hardly ever trampled grass with mortals, the once lovers. He goes over the mathematics of lying awake all night alone in a strange room. Still the equations require multiplication by fear of what is to the power of desire. He feels around, no pillow next to his, no depression in the pillow, no head in the depression. Love is the religion that bereaves the bereft. I like that. Love is the religion that bereaves the bereft. No doubt his mother arms still waver up somewhere reaching for him, and perhaps his father's are now ready to gather him there where peace and death dangerously mingle. But the arms of prayer which pressed his chest in childhood long ago, he himself in the name of truth let them go slack. He lies face down like something washed up. Out the window, the first light pinks the glass building across the street. In the religion of love, to pray is to pass by a shining word into the inner chamber of the other. It is to ask the father and mother to return and be forgiven. But in this religion, not everyone can pray, least of all a man lying alone to avoid being abandoned, who wants to die to escape the meeting with death. The final second strikes. On the glass wall, the daylight grows so bright, the man sees the next darkness already forming inside it. Mm. This is Street of Gold. When I step forward to go to her, the concrete turns mushy and I sink in, and then it sets. Maybe she too stands on a sidewalk somewhere, feet stuck. More likely she sits on her bed, bent forward, brushing yellow hair over her head. If a few strands could escape and blow here, that would be how the wind passing under the streetlight gets its glitter. A woman folds up for the night on the bank steps. A man works himself feet first into a cardboard box without a bedfellow, or a face doughy from cold nights a face could nuzzle. A bottle a passer kicks into the street, goes spinning across the cobblestones, falsetto notes. In a great hall, a countertenor rises on tiptoe, opens his throat, and unspoons them into heaven. The bottle chucks the cobblestone's fat cheeks. A little girl wakes to ecstatic murder taking place in some guttural language, runs, peeks, watches a man and a woman, steady as a backyard oil jack, pumping her back down into non-existence. A strand of yellow hair hits my forehead, presses it across a familiar double-humped wobble. The bottle stops. The man in the box gropes in his fly, finds only a worm. The woman on the steps finds a dry well under the willful hair. The wind turns cold. The cobblestones soon will be rattling in their sockets. What's going to happen? Some will stay put. Some will change sleeping streets. Some will disappear for a stricter reason. Enough will get bumped from home to replace them. She will fly to California and marry. The night runs out of gold, and I am almost as old as my father. And this is The Vow. This is a very small piece. When the lover goes, the vow, though broken, remains. That trace of eternity love brings down among us stays, to give dignity to the suffering and to intensify it. Let's do that again. When the lover goes, the vow, though broken, remains. That trace of eternity love brings down among us stays, to give dignity to the suffering and to intensify it. Now, the book ends with a long poem in sections, that is the title poem, When One Has Lived a Long Time Alone. And I'm going to read you the beginning and ending sections of that to wrap this up. When one has lived a long time alone, one refrains from swatting the fly and lets him go. One hesitates to strike the mosquito, though more than willing to slap the flesh under her. And one lifts the toad from the pit too deep to hop out of and carries him to the grass. Without minding the poisoned urine he slicks his body with. And one envelops in a towel the swift who fell down the chimney and knocks herself against window glass and releases her outside and watches her fly free. A lifeline flung at reality when one has lived a long time alone. And the final section. When one has lived a long time alone, one wants to live again among men and women, to return to that place where one's ties with the human broke, where the disquiet of death, and now also of history, glimmers its firelight on faces, where the gaze of the new baby looks past the gaze of the great granny, and where lovers speak on lips blowsy from kissing, that language the same in each mouth, and like birds at daybreak blether the song that is both earth's and heaven's, until the sun is risen, and they stand in a halo of being made one, kingdom come, when one has lived a long time alone. The work of Galway Kinnell, easy to find, and I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to support your independent booksellers. I'm James Jobe. Take care now.